it showed negative on mine, so that's why you might want to follow up, find out what's going on with your.
Yeah, I have tomorrow. I have
Didn't you have an ultrasound?
ultrasound tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Yeah, 'cause it was one of those you can't eat for 6 hours before the thing.
Okay.
And all their appointments were in the afternoon.
Okay.
And since yours truly has so little calories, I didn't want to take any chances screwing something up. So.
Okay. So those are your updated measurements.
Yes.
All right, so
I thought you would like to see that.
All right. No, those are great. Those are good.
I just.
So if I look at your waist and I look at your hips, that's 3, it's 5, that's 1 1/4. So you've lost 5 1/4 inches in a month. Around the three measures where I normally measure. That's a good sign too. That's well, we didn't measure your wrist, but that's okay. Chest.
I could add that in there.
Yeah, normally, I mean, it's hard with like the bicep, because it can fluctuate. Normally, I don't measure the bicep. In the thigh, occasionally, but the big one is the hips and the waist and the neck, and obviously the chest as well.
So you want around here too?
Yeah, I mean that just helps from like a fluid perspective. That's okay.
I can add that into the thing.
All right, well, let's. Diet looked pretty good. I saw that, and I knew you were making some changes in as well. And that is that your bod pod?
Bod pod. There's the 2 of them.
Okay, we had 53% there. We had 53% on my end.
That was. Is that the new one? Yeah, that's.
Is this the new one?
Yeah, that's the new one.
Is there a date on it? Oh, February 5th. Okay. All right, and this was the previous January.
Yeah, I figured if
I
I had
2 percentage points.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Okay, so if we look at this, so you're normally going to lose fat. You're going to lose lean muscle tissue. It's just inevitable that you're going to do. But if we look at the proportions of how much you're actually losing, right? So if I'm looking at here, like this states here that you've lost. Okay, wait a minute. That's okay. So you were 172 total fat weight. And then here's 160, so you've lost 12 pounds, almost 12 and a half pounds of fat weight, and your muscle weight you've lost right at 2 pounds. So total 14 pounds. If we compare that, right, from a ratio perspective, that's pretty good. Normally, if you can get 80% of the weight being, fat weight, you're going to ultimately lose about anywhere between 15 to 25% of lean muscle tissue. And the reason being is because naturally you're not doing the level of resistance training to build a significant amount. But it's just inevitable as your body loses weight, you're going to lose lean weight too. It's just, it's nearly impossible to prevent unless you're doing a significant amount of resistance training. And even then, you're still going to lose, but we try to focus on if you can lose, like the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the weight that you're losing is fat weight. That's what we care about, right? So that looks good. So I think that's really going, in the first month, that looks pretty good for what you're wanting. And so the question being is, how are you feeling in regards to those numbers?
I'm feeling pretty good. I found out I can now use 5 pounds.
Good.
I'm like, I can use 5 pounds. I can do the weightlifting challenge.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's a silly challenge. It's basically you take 5 pounds, with one arm, and each time you lift it, that counts as 5, 10, 15, 20, and I guess you're supposed to lift something like 1,000,000 pounds or something like that.
Okay.
But it's of course throughout time, not just all at once type of thing. So if I have 5 pounds in each hand, that counts as 10, 20, that kind of thing. So.
Okay.
So I was calculating out with the machines. I was like, okay, that's 55 pounds. Now I got to figure out how many reps I did with them and calculate it out.
Okay. So tomorrow is your ultrasound of the liver. Okay. And did anything? So when you went in, did you talk with your physician or did you talk to the PA in regards to those liver enzyme measures?
It was a PA.
Okay.
But she seemed to be more intelligent than the doctors. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But she was explaining the hepatitis thing, getting it from vegetables, or
Okay.
she was like, well, you could have gotten hepatitis from your food. I'm like, how? And I said, plant or animal, and she said plant.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if it might be kind of like the E. coli thing, where you got an animal who has
Right.
bacteria and infects the plant life there.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if it might have come that
Yeah,
way.
I mean, that's a possibility. I'm not familiar in that realm, but I mean, I did get your labs back, and then it showed to me when I was looking at them, because I got them yesterday evening. They came back all negative.
So we're good there.
On your Hep A, B, and C, so
Okay.
so it didn't appear that to be the issue.
Okay. And then she was saying, yeah, your liver's high. And then she started talking about my medication.
Yeah.
And what cracks me up is one of those, I got high blood pressure, so they give me medication that's going to affect the liver.
Right.
Type of thing. So, but here's the paperwork on the new prescription. This is for my stomach, because I've been having acid burn again.
Okay.
And this is what I've been taking for a long time. It's just they refilled it because I haven't used it in a long time.
Okay.
And I've been having upset stomachs again. This pill is the one she wants me to cut in half, and you already have this on record. So whatever the amount is, I'm supposed to cut that in half. It's 25, so I gotta cut it in half. That'd be 12.5. And this is the new one, and she says it can have an effect on the liver and weight gain.
Norvasc, okay.
And it caused swelling on the ankles, and then I showed her my pretty ankle. Isn't that lovely?
So weight gain from that is obviously going to be fluid retention.
Okay.
That's the issue being there.
Okay.
Hence the importance of having, staying on a low salt diet.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Which I found some Mrs. Dash stuff.
Good.
And so I'm trying to learn how to make some recipes for that.
Swelling, okay. Swelling, headache. Okay, very good. Well, let's get your weight. Let's see where you're at today.
Oh, I hadn't shown.
Yours was going down on your scale from what I was seeing
Finally.
from your text, so that's good. Or your email.
Yeah. It was going up for a while, and I was like, please stop doing that.
I want to. 299. So you're out of the threes. Good job.
Hey, 299.2.
You lost 3.5 pounds this week.
Cool.
So we're right on track with what we talked about where we had you, right? Metabolically speaking, with the amount of calories that we have placed you, the last 2 weeks you are right at 3 to 3.5 pounds. And if you remember when we talked about your metabolism, that's where I was saying it can support about a 3 to 4 pound weight loss per week, and that's 2 weeks in a row. So that's a really good sign.
Yeah.
We've had 2 really good weeks in regards to keeping your calories very controlled, around 8 to 900. I know some days you're a little bit below 8, but for the most part, you're right. You are right at where we have pegged you in regards to how much weight you should be able to lose.
Okay.
Okay. So that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I was getting kind of worried because for a while there was like I kept gaining every day I got on there, and it was like a little bit more, and I'm like, one more. If I get like 1 ounce more, I'm going to be over 300 again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden all this weight just came off, and I'm like, finally.
Sure.
And I'm wondering,
Well, actually, you lost more than that. You lost 4 pounds.
4 pounds.
Yeah, I misspoke because you were at 303.4, 299.2, so 4.25 pounds. So that's where that exercise is really helping. Again, at 3.5 pounds is where we have you from a dietary perspective, and you got close to that pound per week with that additional exercise. So
yeah,
you're doing good. You're doing really good.
And I'm upping my walking on my pedometer to 5,000. And I'm making it a rule that if I don't make the 5,000 by a certain time of the day, I have to get on my cross trainer and work on it until I get the 5,000.
Okay.
And I've had 2 days where I've had to do that. But the other days it's like, okay, I'm just so freaking busy. I'm everywhere. But usually when I visit my mom, I have to do that because she doesn't go anywhere or do anything.
Now, are these for me?
You can have them.
Okay, great. So I'll make sure we update your record for that.
Okay. You can have that too if you want.
Good. I'm going to add those in.
And And I'll add the rest to my measurements. You're a nuisance. I love you, but you're a nuisance.
Ultrasound tomorrow.
That might...
Is there any indication or talk of what they call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease?
Well, she asked me about alcohol, if I drink and stuff like that, and I said, that's so rare. Right. You know, it's like I'm not beyond having a drink, right. But it's been months since I've had my last one. Right. And it was January. Right. And I had one. You know, yeah. So.
That would, and so you're not drinking enough to do that, but the issue being is the risk for what we call non-alcoholic, it's basically non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Okay. Right, and what can cause that is being extremely overweight. It is a huge stressor on your body, so it's essentially cirrhosis of the liver to a certain extent that is caused by being obese. Okay. Now the good thing about your liver, it's one of those organs that can repair itself. Right. Right. That's the good thing. Obviously, with weight loss, those liver enzymes will improve. Okay. And I think that's the reason why they want to look at an ultrasound is to see the mass, how big is the liver, right? So they can. Yeah. So that's going to help with that. So that's something that they're probably going to talk more about if that's what comes about. But it sometimes can happen. I've seen that in other patients where your liver enzymes are excessively high because of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it's not to say that you have that. That's the point of having the ultrasound tomorrow.
And dang it, I had an EKG for you. Great. And I forgot it. I was going to bring it in because it was so light you couldn't see it. It's not in here.
And I haven't read an EKG in years, to be honest with you. So I know the common basics to it, but I wouldn't be able to tell you specifically if there's anything going on.
I will try to make another copy and see if I can't get a better copy of it and then send it to you, fax it to you or something.
Yeah, we just keep it part of your record.
Okay. Because I had it sitting with this stuff and somehow it didn't come with it. Yeah. But they did an EKG. They didn't tell me what the results were other than I just want a copy of that for my doctor.
Okay. All right, so what I want to talk about this week with you in regards to is you broke out of the 300, which I anticipated, right? So what are your thoughts? What are your feelings now that you're out of 300 pounds?
I want to party.
Okay. Celebrate.
Now, we've been talking about Valentine's Day, and it's like, normally it's dinner and a movie. Okay. We may have to find something more creative, because obviously we can't go to the restaurant or anything like that.
So if I take let's take a step back. So you said something that you want to party. So obviously you have the sense of elation, have a sense of happiness, right about it. Yeah. Because it's been a while. Yeah. Since you've been out of 300 pounds.
What do I want to say? A couple of years?
Yeah.
2, 3.
And we were able to accomplish that in a little less than a month. Yeah. Right. You have lost just about 14 pounds in 3.5, 4 weeks. Right. Okay. And that's really good. Right. It's not blazing like you see on The Biggest Loser, but again, we can't expect those numbers like on The Biggest Loser either. So I still think if you've been able to achieve greater than 3 pounds per week weight loss. Right. And on average, and that's really important if we look at it from that perspective. Right. Right. So if you think from a standpoint 14 pounds, almost 15 pounds in a month, right? You multiply that by 5, right? Or even 4. 4 months, that's 60 pounds. Right. Right. That is a huge amount of weight to lose. Right. That's nearly 20%. That's about 20% of your weight. Right. And again, most programs typically average 7 to 10% weight loss in about 3 to 6 months. Right. Right. Well, we're coming up. We're our goal is to get you close to. I mean, right now, if we look at you're just shy of 5% in the first month. Yeah. Right. And that's significant. Right. And your numbers are showing it. Your waist circumference has gone down. Your neck circumference has gone down. So there's some positive signs besides just looking at weight. We're looking at your overall mass of the circumference of your body is also coming down. Right, so that's a good sign. So naturally, you have some positive insight. You have some positive feelings about being in this being out of the 3s and into the 2s. And you indicate that you would like to party, and I think that naturally it's more of a facetious comment about that.
Yeah, like
but any negative thoughts, any negative feelings, any anxiety now that you're out of the 3s?
Hoping it doesn't come back.
Okay.
It's one of those. Just like this last week, I had 2 or 3 days where the scale kept going up,
right.
And I'm sticking to the diet for all it's worth.
Right.
And it's like, here we go again.
Right.
And that was, so I was real surprised when all of a sudden I stood on the scale. It was like, I just knew that next morning when I got on the scale, I was going to see a 3.
Right.
And it shocked me when I saw a 298 or something like that. I was like, when did that happen?
Right.
Type of thing. It just kind of took me by surprise.
I think what we have to focus on, right, is naturally there's some anxiety with gaining back the weight since you haven't been in this weight for a long time, right? Is the natural anxiety is okay? Like you said, I don't, I'm fearful of gaining it back, right? Why would you gain it back? What would cause you to gain it back?
It's one of those, before when I lost the weight, even though I stuck to the diet, I'd gain it all back. Or like Biggest Loser, the first time I was in Biggest Loser, I lost 30 pounds. Great, I went back the next year ready to go and let's lose another 30. I was all prepared for it. And they changed what I was going to eat. And because of the change, it was one I was supposed to have more grains, nuts and grains and stuff like that. And I was supposed to drop my calories 500. And they changed the exercises. They just made all these changes. I did what I was told to do, and gained all that plus back. And it was like, and I worked my ass off basically for nothing, And I know even with this, eventually we're going to be bringing things into the diet.
So there's some anxiety there.
Yeah, it's like, okay, right now there's no fruits, no nuts, no grains, type of thing.
Right.
So what's going to happen if I have one bite of something that I'm not supposed to have?
Right.
Am I going to gain all that weight back?
So we have to look at it, so that's a valid concern. Right, so we have to look at it from 2 perspectives. We have to look at it from a thermodynamic perspective. Right, the laws of thermodynamics. Right? Yes, a calorie is a calorie. So in essence, is if you stay based on the theory of laws of thermodynamics, it is what it is, right? If you consume X below what you burn Y, you will lose weight. No questions asked. It does work that way, right? However, all things being equal, right, if we look at weight loss in general, that's how you lose weight.
Right.
What would cause you to gain weight? Inflammation, medications, right? Things that are outside of your control, right?
Right.
So if we talk inflammation, what would cause inflammation? Right? Well,
medicines, one.
Okay. Well, medications can cause some physiological changes to just retain weight. Like one of the medications that causes, like Norvasc, one of the it's a feet and ankle swelling, which would be edema. Yeah, it's pulling. It's fluid. Collecting in the bottom, right? Mainly because it's vasodilation of the blood vessels and everything just pools, right? And you have to use some form of constriction to force the blood back up. Right, so that's one aspect. The other aspect what I was talking about is inflammation. What would cause inflammation? Well, there's a couple things that we do know that can cause inflammation. One of them is called endotoxemia. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Endotoxemia is when, right now, I am already confident, and it's something we haven't addressed with you, that your bacterial composition in your intestines is greatly different than of a normal weight person. They've shown that in studies numerous times that the bacterial composition in the intestines is greatly different in overweight patients than there are normal weight patients. Why is that important? Because that can alter what we call the permeability or the lining of the intestinal walls. And what happens is that bacteria then starts to get into the bloodstream a little bit, and it becomes toxic. Not to the point where you're going to become ill, right, like a virus or bacteria, but it's enough to put into motion an inflammatory response, right? That inflammatory response then leads to, the collection of fluid, right? Again, when we talked about inflammation, when you have inflammation, you hold water. Right? You can do all the right things, right? So when we go back to the intestinal walls, right, they're compromised. That's your first line of defense in your immunity. Okay. So if those intestinal walls are compromised, then you're at risk for becoming ill because of your immune system being open to more contaminants or antigens that cross through the walls into the bloodstream. Your immune system sees that and begins trying to develop antibodies, right, attacking those things. So we do know there's that issue, and so why is that important? Because as you said, if you eat anything, right, you feel like you might gain weight, you could have intolerances to various foods, even healthy foods. Right? I've seen that firsthand with other patients. I can recommend eating a great healthy diet, but if you have intolerances to those healthy things, then you can develop antibodies, and then leads to more inflammation. Right? So right now we have you on. If you look at your diet, you probably recognize that you're on a dairy, besides outside of yogurt.
Yeah.
You're on a dairy-free, gluten-free, wheat-free diet.
Right.
Right? Those are the more common things that we find oftentimes that our intolerance issues is because our diet, our Western diet, is really a big staple of dairy and wheat.
Yeah.
The Western diet. Right? And if you have hyperpermeability, I'm going to just call it what is the common name is called leaky gut. Right? It's the gut is compromised and things leak over into the bloodstream. Right? That's essentially what you develop antibodies to, and therefore intolerances. Right? So right now we have you not eating those things, and you're essentially lowering your antibodies to those things if you do have an intolerance. Right? But right now what we're trying to do is naturally have you follow a very, very basic, non-traditional Western diet. Right? Soy-based, fruits, vegetables, limited dairy, no grains. Right? And we're seeing positive results with it. Okay? So we're going to keep an eye on it.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then we can do things to test for it. We can do things to alter the diet. But right now, let's not worry about that. Let's cross that bridge when we're ready to get there. Okay? But if we focus on, now we've eliminated those things, we see that your weight's coming off, there's no reason why all of a sudden your weight would come back on unless you deviate calorically or from the type of foods that you're currently eating. Right? And that's not what we're going to do. Okay? So we know you're losing weight. That's the main thing. So I think if we look at it from that perspective, you can naturally have some anxiety. And that anxiety can naturally lead to self-sabotaging behaviors. And what I mean by that is if you do eat something outside that program, outside the realm, and then you naturally gain weight, then what tends to happen is your confidence level goes out the window, goes out the door, and then you start to kind of go back to what you were doing before. It's like, what's the point of me following this if I'm going to gain all this weight? Then I'll just go back to do what I'm doing. So then it's like a perpetuation of negative events that can lead that. So I think right now, natural anxiety is good. Fear should be a positive thing because fear can do one of two things. Fear can either keep us completely frozen, right?
Don't move,
where we don't do anything, so it's self-limiting, or fear can drive us to do something, right? It's either fight or flight. Right. Well, we're not going to flee it, we're going to fight it. Right? And that's what we're trying to have you do. Is knowing that, hey, you lost weight, you're now in the twos. It's a good feeling to have, but there's natural anxiety that comes with that. Let's address that anxiety as you experience it. And talk through it. And I think if you do that, you feel more comfortable, you feel more confident, and then you'll keep moving forward.
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah, and what you said, it makes sense because you know, like I said before, I was always eating under my calories, even when I
Right.
was doing the Biggest Loser before. It's like, here's your bottom line, this, you have to eat more than this,
Right.
but less than this, you know, so, and I couldn't even eat this much.
Right.
And I was still gaining.
Right.
And it was like, why? You know,
Right.
I'm following the diet you gave me,
Right.
I'm eating what you want.
Yep. So what I would recommend this week, since we talked about a little bit of the bacterial differences, I would recommend taking a probiotic. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard something about it, I don't know, I don't quite.
Probiotics, yeah, you know, it's kind of we like to do kind of a full gut restoration program, but I think what we're doing now with your the kind of diet you're following will help a little bit in that regards. But I think right now, if we just focus on bacterial composition, that will help. You know, as well. So it's what we call reinoculation. There's a prebiotic that helps your body develop the bacteria, and then you have probiotics, which basically is just taking the bacteria and putting it in the gut.
Okay.
Right. So one helps develop it, the other one helps actually just get it in. Right. So we're just going to put it there. So right now we're going to just do probiotics. Okay.
Well, how do I get that?
You can go and get a probiotic. I mean, I recommend. I'm going to write this down for you. A multi-strain probiotic. Right, if you're like antibiotics, right, antibiotics wipes out all bacteria, kills everything, right, where a probiotic puts back the bacteria. So naturally, if you take antibiotics, you kill off the good bacteria that's in your gut too, and there's nothing there to replenish it, and then it can lead to, you know, down the road some issues. So you want to take just a standard probiotic, and you've probably heard you can get probiotic from yogurt. Well, can't get a huge amount of therapeutic dosing from yogurt. You really need to take a probiotic in capsule form. Okay? So I think it's a good time for you to take a 30 billion.
Billion?
Yes. 30 billion CFUs, which is basically that's the dosage amount.
Okay.
Okay? 30 billion of a multi-strain. Multi-strain would be, you could have lacto and then bifido. Bacterium. And lacto basically is you know, lacto would be, you know, like think of milk, right? There's lactoacidophilus, and then there's bifidobacterium. So you want a combination of those two things. I'm just going to put multi-strain. Okay, 30 billion. Second thing it needs to be is either refrigerated or freeze-dried. Because that maintains the purity and the efficacy.
And I take it I have to go to the pharmacy and ask them how to
You could probably get this, you know, at Walgreens or you might be able to get it like at a Vitamin Cottage, something along those lines. I mean, we have some as well. You know, I always tell patients, be careful with what you get because you know, they can vary in pricing. Probiotics can. They can be really, really inexpensive, and they can be very, very expensive. Right? So just because they're very expensive
doesn't mean they're better.
And the opposite true is just because they're inexpensive, I question the quality and purity. Because typically I always recommend, you know, 1 billion, right, should be equivalent to about $1 to $2, all right, per strain, right, or per what it should cost. So a 30 billion probably is going to cost you anywhere between, you know, $25 to $45. That's what I typically rate. And it's about a month's supply. It's just one pill. A lot of these things that you'll find over the counter that'll just be in jars on the shelf and $10 to $15, and they can be only like 2 billion, right? 3 billion, right? And the other thing too is they're not freeze dried. They're not refrigerated. So don't buy it. You're not really getting a good value for what you should be getting. So 30 billion CFUs, multi-strain, right? One a day. That's all you need to take.
Okay.
All right. If you have any form of constipation, this will actually help regulate it. We know with probiotics can sometimes ease constipation, so that's a good thing. Because constipation, you have fecal matter that just hangs out in the intestinal tract, and that's bad bacteria, right? And that's not a good thing. You don't want that. So you want to clear it out of your system as much as you can.
And this help with the liver thing too?
Probably not so much. I wouldn't expect that. You know, the only thing you can really do from a liver thing is obviously have a lower cholesterol diet, right?
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
Yeah,
the
a
doctor.
lower fat, lower cholesterol, and you're on that.
Yeah,
right?
she was like, you don't have enough to have this problem. There's got to be another issue. And I'm like, welcome to my world.
I'm going to take these things to the pharmacies and say, can you help me find this?
Yeah, exactly. So I think you know you had a good week, and I'm proud of you. You got out of the threes. So that's a great accomplishment in your first month. You're self-monitoring quite well. I see that you're very active with talking with everybody.
Yeah.
So that's good. You get a good social support network from that.
Yeah. Some of my new people on my Fitness Pal are from the other, what do you call it, Biggest Loser that I'm doing online. And I was like, they'll make a comment, well, I'm so-and-so on my Fitness Pal, so I'll send them an invite.
Yeah.
And so that's how my thing is starting to get active. I'm trying to get, learn the recipes. Like I might make me a salad, but it's not exactly like something I have. But I'll click on the one that's closest to of my recipes because it's the same ingredients type of thing. It just may not be that particular recipe, type of thing. So, and well, you saw the ingredients for the stew that I made, or the vegetable soup. It turned out really good, and I would cook my meat separate, measure it out, and then add that. And it ended up being a pretty good sized bowl by the time I gave it to him. He couldn't eat it all. I gave him a serving. I was like, it was supposed to be 2 cups of vegetables because the vegetables are barely even cooked, really. And it's mostly broth and of course your meat. And so by the time you get done, you got this huge bowl. And he's like, I can't eat all this. And I was like, well, I have to. So it takes me a couple of hours, but I'm working on it.
Well, I think you're doing well. One of the things we'll start talking about next week is I want to start kind of peeling back the layers from the social component of how are things at home. How's he doing?
I had to laugh. Last time we were talking about the salt issue. So we went to the store, and everything that he likes to have, he pulls it out and looks at it and goes, oh, wow, I didn't know there's that much salt. I'm like, you go crazy on salt. You're like getting salt from every direction that you can find. And so he's starting to pay attention to that.
Good.
And it's like I might have a diet soda, like if we go to the movie theater.
Right.
I'll have a diet soda, but really shouldn't. But
Well, we're going to see you before Valentine's Day. And that's important because we'll discuss kind of like events, celebratory events at your next appointment.
Okay.
And how to handle those and so forth. But naturally, our society is circumvented around
going
food.
to dinner.
Yeah. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I told him, well, maybe we might go on a road trip or something like that, try to find something that's a little different.
Sure.
Type of thing. Oh, I have no shakes.
Okay. What do you need? I've got chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and then abundance of flavor bars.
I think I'm going to go chocolate vanilla this time.
Okay. I have chocolate banana, chocolate raspberry, apple cinnamon, and chocolate bars. So, what would be more appealing?
What was that first one?
Chocolate banana.
I'll try that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go get those for you. Let's get you scheduled for next week.
Okay.
As well. Do you know what your schedule looks like next Wednesday?
Same as usual, right? Yeah.